Yo, what's going on, guys? Versal here. Today we're doing a Fire King Jurrac combo video. Just kind of going over some of the basic lines that the deck has. Give you an idea of how it's supposed to work. This deck's not really like a combo deck. It's more of just the mid-range kind of fill in the blanks based on your hand, technical play kind of deck, as opposed to just memorizing long convoluted combos. So it's pretty straightforward for the most part. You just kind of look at your hand and go from there. But I'll show you like some of the starting points, and you can apply some of these patterns in pretty much every hand that you open. So hopefully after this video you have a better idea of how the deck works, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. But before I get into all that, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, definitely do that now. Drop a like, comment, turn on notifications, all that good stuff. It all helps me out. And if you're interested in this playmat or these sleeves or any other cool stuff, check out finalsaga.de. And if you decide to buy anything, use my code Versal5 for 5% off your order. I'll leave a link in the description. So get right into the combos. So I'll start off with just Ponix. This deck is a 2-card combo deck for the most part. Ideally, a lot of the time you even want to see like 3 engine cards, but this is like one of the only 1-card combos in the deck. It isn't very good, to be honest, but it exists. And if you have another fire in your hand, I'll show you guys after. It gets better, but this is what you can do with just one Ponix. You normal summon the Ponix, add the Sanctuary, activate the Sanctuary to place the island, and then the island's gonna pop the Ponix to add a fire, and you're going to add the Jurrac, and then in a new chain, the Jurrac is gonna trigger to special summon itself. And then on summon, it's going to destroy a Fire King from deck. So we're going to destroy the Ponix. And then the Ponix is going to trigger to summon the old Jurrac from deck. So with just the 1-card combo, this is kind of all you get to, which is not a lot at all. And the Sanctuary on your opponent's turn, when they special summon, you can quick Xyz these into the Jurrac and wipe the board. And then when this card gets destroyed, you can summon back equal to the materials that it had. So eventually you're going to get back into your Fire King stuff, and you have like your grind game set up at least. But in terms of disruptions, it's not a lot. So we'll rewind a little bit back to this point, and we'll put a fire in our hand this time. Ideally, you want it to be something like good, like a megalo or just anything that gets you more value, but for the sake of this, I'll just use an Ash Blossom just as like a blank fire card. So from here, you can use the island to pop the fire in your hand, and we're gonna do the same thing. Gonna add the Jurrac, and then new chain, summon, on summon effect to dump the Ponix, special from deck. So you have the same stuff as before, except you have an extra body here, and this lets you go into some extra link plays. So you're going to link these two off into a Sunlight Wolf. And what this card lets you do is when a card's summoned under it, you can add back a fire. You just can't summon that card that turn. So it's really nice to help get your resources back. Something you can easily do is link off the Ponix into an anima under it to trigger it. So from here you can add back a fire. We're going to add back either the Ponix or the Ash typically, and then there's sometimes where you have like Kieran Engrave to add back, but for the sake of this I'll just do the Ponix because this is just a blank fire. So now you can turn these two into a Promethean Princess, and then you're going to use its effect to revive a fire. We're going to get back the Ponix. And since we didn't use the effect, we only used the summon from deck effect. You can use this effect on summon to destroy a fire and then add a fire. So we're going to pop the Ponix, and then we're going to add a Kieran. And then you can just turn these two into the Raging Phoenix. This one doesn't really like do anything on the field. It's more of just a really good card in the grind game, because when your stuff's getting destroyed, you can bring this back, and then it has a lot of attack when it comes back. So but yeah, from here, this is where you're ending on. Then next standby phase, since your Ponix was destroyed by the Ponix, it's going to come back to your hand. And this is like a pretty basic, just Fire King combo. You have all the stuff in rotation. You have your Princess, you have your Grunix, and then you have the Arvada that can trigger by popping one of your fires if you need it to, just to give you like some more layers to kind of help trigger your cards off. And then when this comes out, it's going to dump a Kieran, which is, it revives a card and is a non-target pop. So you can bring back a level 8 off this, so now you have 2 level 8s for your Sanctuary, which is another board wipe. So just have a bunch of destruction effects. Then the Fire King cards are just like really good in the grind game as well, which is nice. This deck gets into a lot of those, so. But that's just like the Fire King combos. Now kind of get into how you can bridge into the Jurrac stuff. If you have like more cards in your hand, like if you already had access to some extra Fire King stuff, or if you already had the Megalo in hand, for example, or Misk, like you can just tack that on to what I just showed you. But for the next one, we'll do Ulcanix and a random fire. And then afterwards, I'll show you Ulcanix plus like Megalo. But it's the same thing as before. Based on the extra fire you have, things could get better, as opposed to just being like a random ass fire. But we'll normal summon the Ulcanix, use this effect to pop our fire. And then it's gonna add you a Ponix. Then a new chain, your Ponix is gonna special summon, then use its effect to get Sanctuary, then Sanctuary effect to place the island. So now you can use the island to pop the Ulcanix. Gonna get you the Garunix, and then you can summon the Garunix and use Ulcanix to summon as well. So if you are playing against a deck that could be on impulse, you can chain block the Garunix, and then your Ulcanix is going to summon. So, and then on summon here, your Garunix is going to dump. And since we already have other stuff in rotation, we're going to be dumping the old Kieran. And when this card's sent to the graveyard, or destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can send a fire. So we're going to use that to send the Misk. That's going to get us into the Jurrac stuff. So from here, you can do something pretty similar to before. We're just going to kind of get back some of our resources here. Going to the Sunlight Wolf. Make Anima, Sunlight Wolf to add back. Ponix. Make Princess, bring something back. Doesn't really matter too much. We're gonna just make the Raging Phoenix to help the grind game. Then use the Misk. Summon Megalo. And then in the end phase, because Misk, this is gonna get destroyed and then it's gonna trigger to dump the Astero. So this is like the pretty simple like Fire King end board you're gonna end on a lot of the time, is just Sanctuary Island, Raging Phoenix with the Ponix in hand, and then all your stuff set up in the grave. And then in this case, we were able to get into the Jurrac stuff. So kind of rewind a little bit, and we'll show you if we open the Ulcanix and like the Megalo already. So we'll do the same thing as before. Normal summon the Ulcanix. We're gonna pop the Megalo. Gonna add ourselves the Ponix. And then your Ponix is gonna trigger and your Megalo is gonna trigger. So I'm gonna dump the Astero, normal the Ponix, or special the Ponix, and then Ponix trigger. Get the Sanctuary. Sanctuary to place the island. Then island, pop Ulcanix. And then we're going to add our Garunix, and then these two are going to trigger. Going to summon the Garunix, and then Ulcanix is going to summon the old Garunix from deck. Then on summon, Garunix is going to dump from deck. And since we already have our Jurrac stuff, we already dumped Ulcanix. You have two different things you could dump here. You could dump an Arvada, or you could dump a Kieran. They both revive a Fire King from the grave, but depending on if you want to add this back to hand or get Arvada on the field, that's like the decision to make. I'll show you what to do to get Arvada on your end board. So we're going to dump this. This is going to revive the Volcanics. And then from here, do the same thing. Sunlight Wolf. Anima. Sunlight Wolf to add back the Ponix. Princess effect. Bring back the Arvada. And then you can turn these two into the Raging Phoenix. And then you have your Jurrac stuff set up already since you opened the Megalo, so you didn't need to go through that route. You have your Princess engraved still, the Jurrac engraved, and then you have the Monster Negate Arvada, and then that's just kind of all your disruptions. You just have all your graveyard loaded up, and then you just have the Monster Negate on top of it. So that's if you want Arvada on the end board. So like I said, you can also just prioritize trying to end on Ponix and Kieran in your hand instead of some of these things, just to kind of give you that extra layer to like trigger your grave effects in case something goes wrong. But that's like the basic Fire King stuff. I'll show you what you can do if you're playing like the extra Dinosaur cards with like these. I decided to take these out from my deck for now, just because I found that the deck didn't have quite enough non-engine, and there was a lot of Droll, but Droll's kind of been moved back to the side deck recently, I think, because there's a lot of Draco Tail. So, but if you're playing these, this is going to come up. If you're not playing these, it's not going to come up, but I figured I'll show it anyway. So, gonna get all the Dino stuff together. So for this, it's just if you have just any two of these pretty much, with no like Fire King cards. I'll show you how you can bridge these into the Fire King cards. For the sake of this, we'll do Misk and Megalo, since it's a little better to not have to normal summon the Archosaur, but if you do have to normal it, that's perfectly fine as well. So start off by using the Misk to summon the Archosaur from deck, and this is going to trigger to pop your Megalo. And typically in like regular dinos, you would be adding a double evolution pill or something with this, but in this deck we're going to actually add the other thing that it can add, which is a reptile, sea serpent, or winged beast with the same level that was destroyed. So since we destroyed a level 1, we can add level 1 winged beast, which is Ponix. And since a fire was destroyed, this is going to be able to just summon itself. So we're going to dump a Stera with the Megalo, and the Ponix is going to special, use its effect. Same as most of the combos, going to get the Sanctuary and place the island. If you already have these, you're going to always be able to just get Skyburn instead, but just showing you guys like the bare bones combos for the most part. So you can use your island to pop the Ponix. Again, if you have more fires in your hand, that's even better, but for the sake, I'll just pretend that we didn't have any other fires. So you're gonna pop the Ponix, add the Jurrac, then this is going to trigger to summon, and on summon it's going to dump. Do the Volcanics, then Volcanics is gonna summon from deck. So this is like the same spot you get to a lot of the time, except the Ponix is an Archosaur now, but they're both level 1, so it kind of works out the same. So you can use these two to go into the Sunlight Wolf. And keep in mind that we didn't normal summon in this combo since we started with Misk and Megalo. So we're going to go into the Anima to trigger Sunlight Wolf to add back. Going to add back the Ponix. I'm gonna link these two into Promethean Princess. Then we're going to use Promethean Princess to bring back the Alcanix. Then we didn't use the Alcanixes on summon effect this turn, so we're going to use that. Destroy the ponix in our hand. And then, again, you can get Arvada or you could get Kieran. If you started with normal summon the Archosaur, then you could just get Kieran here. But since we didn't normal summon, you can just get Arvada. And then you can normal summon this. And then turn these two into the Raging Phoenix. And then in the standby phase, the Ponix is going to come back. So if you started with the Archosaur, this would just turn into Kieran in hand to go with the Ponix, which is always nice. So it just kind of depends if you used your normal or not, but if you didn't, you get to add the Elephant Man. So that's kind of how you can bridge from just having Dino cards into the Fire King stuff, which is cool. But yeah, this deck's kind of just, as you can see, it's kind of a lot of the same patterns. You're just kind of filling in the blanks, and the more engine that you open can kind of make things easier and get you to like the full end board with like your hand set up with these or the Arvada tacked on. It just kind of depends what you open, and then you just kind of go from there. Some other things that can come up, if you only open the Misk, you could just use the Misk to summon the Megalo, and then it gets destroyed in the end phase and dumps the Stero. So like, even if you only have this for some reason, you can still set up a nuke. Another cool thing with the Megalo, which is like one of the coolest interactions in the deck, is if you're going second and you open these two, this works with Kieran, and if you just have a bunch of Fire King stuff, like if you have like Garunix, just any other Fire King card in Kieran, like you can kind of do some turn 0 stuff with Kieran that way. But the most common one is if you just open these two together, you can use the Kieran to pop this and summon itself, and then the Megalo is going to dump the Astero. So that's how you can get like a turn 0 board wipe, because then you could use the Astero to summon the Meteor. And this is like a really good interaction if you're playing on your opponent's turn, to be able to just wipe their board whenever you want. It's very high impact. So that's kind of how the deck works. Hopefully showed you guys enough combos in this to kind of get an idea of how everything kind of flows together. Like I said, the more engine you open up, you can set up your hand a little better. You can enter the monster negate a little more often. If you already have like the spells, you can get the Skyburn. So like in an ideal world, you could potentially end up with like Skyburn set. You could have like these two in hand. You could have like just everything on the field at once. You could have your Astero set up in the grave. You have this guy on the field. You got the Princess in grave, Garunix in grave. So this would be like the full ceiling pretty much if you just had everything, which is like, this is a lot of disruptions. And like you have like other shit in the grave too. So but yeah, it's gonna be it for this one. Hopefully this kind of showed you guys how the deck works. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. And that's gonna be it. Thanks for watching. Take care. Peace.